What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, the one and only MJ. Today, we're gonna talk about discuss it and just be chatting, and we're gonna be talking about the Indiana Fever. Indiana Fever. I'm sorry, the Indiana Fever. Going to be talking about how I think the 2026 season is going to play out, and what things could possibly happen or conspire, and what things that may not conspire or happen. Um, right now the Indiana Fever are 4-2. They've played 6 games in the 2026 season, and they only lost 2 games, one to the Washington Mystics and one to the Dallas Mavericks. Now I'm going to be honest with you guys, and I know a lot of you guys probably going to tune off real quick once I say this or leave, but this is just what I felt at the beginning from watching the preseason and all the off-season moves of what I was expecting from the Indiana Fever. When we're talking about the first 10 games, me personally, honestly, I felt that the Indiana Fever was going to go 0-10 for the first 10 games of the season. I know. Yes, you guys, I know. Trust me. I know. They like, hell no, this dude tripping. But yes, now I'm going to go in a little bit why I felt that the Indiana Fever may start it off going like 0-10, if not winning one game, going 1-10. It was for specific reasons. Okay, that's not to say that I felt that they were just not going to be have success at all throughout the whole entire season. It was just the first 10 games, and I'm just going to be plainly honest with you guys. It's just I don't really like this team. I don't like this team how it's constructed. Okay, I don't like it. I'm not all the way sold on it. I still think that the Indiana Fever are missing some key pieces to make them just a dominant dynasty. I see that the Indiana Fever, hear me and hear me good. I'm going to be the first one you're going to hear say this. I'm saying it right now at the beginning of this stream that I think that the Indiana Fever possibly has a chance to be the biggest dynasty since the 90s. I think, as far as when you're talking about the 90s era of the Los Angeles Sparks and of the Houston Comets, I think that this Indiana Fever team has the possibility to do that. No other team has done what those teams back then done in the 90s of the Los Angeles Sparks and the Houston Comets. If we're talking about a dynasty and a team setting a record for, like, we're talking about amount of championships, I think that the Indiana Fever is the first team since the 90s that could possibly go like back to back to back back titles, like three-peat or even four-peat. And when I can go so far as to say the Indiana Fever, I can see it. If they make a right couple of more, just a couple of two more moves and make this roster just a little bit, they can go on a double, saying three-peat or four-peat. Yes, I'm saying it. The Indiana Fever has the possibility of going on being one of the biggest franchises since the 1990s. They can break a record. I think that they have the potential to break the Houston Comets record, like, or tie it. But I think they can break it. I think that the Indiana Fever has the potential to go a three-peat 2 times or a four-peat 2 times. Straight flat app. Straight flat app. This the first time y'all probably hearing this, and so just y'all remember, if this ever happens, if this ends up happening in the future or the near future, you guys just remember where you heard it first. The Indiana Fever has the possibility of doing what the Houston Comets and the Los Angeles Sparks were doing in the 90s. They can be a major dynasty team where they can go like three-peat 2 times or four-peat 2 times. Straight all facts. But the problem with this is we can't jump to the conclusions and just jump all the way and say, yeah, we're going to do it. I just feel like the reason why I want to break down, I want to say that first so you guys can see where I'm about to go back into it, what I talked about the first 10 games. What I expected for the first 10 games is because I don't like how this roster is all the way set right now. I think there's still some little bit of improvement need to be made. First, I'm going to start off with I think that the Indiana Fever, and we're talking about the offseason, I think the Indiana Fever made a huge mistake. I think that, should I say, not a made a huge mistake. I think the Indiana Fever, the front office, shall I say, and Stephanie White, I think they dropped the ball in the offseason. I won't complain about the Raven Johnson pick in the first round. I won't complain about that. I won't even complain about the second round pick of Justine Passat. I won't complain about that, but I will go into that a little bit, you guys, because I want to talk about that. That pertains to what I'm saying about some of the things that they need to tweak in order to become that possible dynasty what we're talking about, like in the 90s when the Houston Comets and the Los Angeles Sparks were just dominating the WNBA. Okay. So I think that the Indiana favor when in off season when they start signing these guards and bringing in all these guards, I think it was just completely a waste of time. It was ridiculous because eventually when you look at it where we are right now, all those guards that they had are gone. They've gotten rid of them. But I just think that they made a mistake when they. I think they should have got rid of some of those last guards or some of those guards, the last guards they had before the season. I mean, the season that really kicked off and started because Marta Suarez, I think, was a key piece to the Indiana Fever. I think Marta Suarez, I think that the Indiana Fever front office and Stephanie White really dropped the ball on obtaining Marta Suarez. They had the opportunity to obtain Marta Suarez because Marta Suarez was waived and she could have been picked up on a developmental contract and it wouldn't have really cost the Indiana Fever that much, putting her on a developmental contract. I really think they dropped the ball with that. I really think they missed the opportunity. Like I told people, you guys got to understand. So a lot of you guys only know these, or only hear when you hear about things. You know about the big face names and the biggest names that's mentioned every time coming out of college. But I'm telling you guys, Marta Suarez would fit perfect with the Indiana Fever because she's 6'3" on paper. On paper, she's 6'3", but if you look at her game and the way she plays, you would think that she's about like 6'4" or 6'5", like Justine Passat size, or maybe an inch taller than Justine Passat. The reason why I'm saying it is with Marta Suarez is because Marta Suarez, she had multiple skills. Not had, but Marta Suarez has multiple skills. I've watched her when she was before she was with TCU with the girl Olivia Miles. She was with in Vanderbilt. She played for Vanderbilt for about like I think 2 years, I believe. You guys let me know in the comments if I'm correct, if I'm all the way correct about that. But I believe 2 years she played with Vanderbilt before she eventually wound it up with TCU. But anyways, Marta Suarez, I watched her game. I watched the games where she actually played. Marta Suarez, she actually is what the Indiana Fever need: another physical presence, another big that got another person that got size to be in the paint to help out Aaliyah Boston. I mean, because when you're talking about Aaliyah Boston starting, and then you have Monique Billings. I have no problems with issues with Monique Billings being signed. And I have no problem with Maisha Allen, but I do have some things to say, though, about pertaining to Maisha Allen's. I think some things that Maisha Allen lacks at, the reason why I don't think she all the way is a perfect fit on the Indiana Fever as far as having a lot of play time. I think I would rather have Marta Suarez getting more play, getting that play time, them extra minutes over Maisha Allen. Like I said, I have no problem with the Maisha Allen thing, but I think that if you're going to be talking about her getting as much playing time she's getting, no, we need more from her. She has to. She is very unreliable when you're talking about what you need. Someone to get those rebounds or someone to put a little couple of points on the board. Like she has a real issue and struggles with making easy layups, and I think Marta Suarez would fit there better because Marta Suarez, she knows how to play the paint very well. She's skilled in the paint. She can back down that old school basketball, the 80s and 90s basketball. Marta Suarez has that style where she can be physical in the paint. And I've saw her get down and play up against some of these top bigs that's in the league now, or came to the league that's been here a year or 2 years. I've seen when she was playing against them and she was really still, she was a dog and beast in that paint. So Marta Suarez had paint. She also had handles to where she can make her and create her own shots or get that ball into that paint very good. She can shoot as well. This is why I think that the Indiana Fever dropped the ball on Marta Suarez. They should have picked her up. They had the opportunity before she had got picked up by, I believe, the was it the Phoenix Mercury or the Connecticut Sun? No, I think it's the Phoenix Mercury. Yes, but I just think they dropped the ball on that. Now, I think that Billings, like I said, I have no problem with Billings, but I think the issue with the Indiana Fever is you guys are because of you don't really have size. You're gonna go with the decision to start Monique Billings and start Aaliyah Boston together. I think that's going to be it's more challenging because Monique Billings was not a starter. She is more of a coming off the bench. This is why I think that Monique Billings should be coming off the bench. But if you're going to have Monique Billings starting the way they have no issue with that. But if you're going to have Monique Billings starting, you have to have another big with size that is skilled in the paint and know how to get them rebounds, know how to hustle, get them rebounds, some offensive rebounds, not commit a lot of turnovers, but also can implement her own shots, and she also can pop threes. Marta Soares can do that. So if Monique Billings would be the starter, I think they should have had Marta Soares as their backup. That way, Marta Soares would back up. She would be the first in line to back up Monique Billings, and then Maisha Allens would be that third option. And if you're talking about Aaliyah Boston getting rest, that could be a way too. You can switch it around and have Marta Soares giving Aaliyah Boston her rest, because at the end of the day, like I said, if these guys are the starters, Caitlin Clark, Monique Billings, Aaliyah Boston, if and Mitchell, if they're tired and winded, you can't expect them to perform and go out every game, be performing all 4 quarters. No, they're going to be burnt out. This is why I say it's important. You must have a reliable bench that can put up a certain amount of points to keep that flow going. Okay, because if you don't have a bench that can put up a certain amount of points in the entire game, then it's going to be hard for those starters. No matter how high of a caliber players they are, it's going to be hard for them to be able to consecutively win games, and especially when it matters when you're talking about the playoffs and you're talking about championship games. So I think this is the small little tweaks that I think that is going to probably be an issue with the Indiana Fever. Now they do have time to figure this out, and like I said, I just really think they dropped the ball on Marta Soares. Now, when we're talking about Justine Fasat, for some reason I just can't figure it out. I don't know why the Indiana Fever have Justine Fasat in the development contract. I don't know why they have her down in development. I think that Justine Fasat should be in that 12-man roster or 12-woman roster. I'm just being honest. If you're talking about your bench that you have right now, Justine Passat can average and can put up more points than any one of those players that you have right now currently on the roster coming off the bench. Straight facts. Straight facts. Justine Passat can put up more points and consistently put up points that the Fever would need coming off the bench more than any of those bench players they have right now. And that's no knock at another one, but I'm just saying I can't understand why they have Justine Passat still down there. Now, I've heard a few people on a couple of podcasts. I've heard some of the people on the panel where they were saying is, well, maybe the Fever realized something about Justine Passat. She may not be all the way ready to play with the professional league, to be out there more. They think she needs to develop more, which I think that is complete. I get that could be a possibility, but I think that's completely blasphemy in this case, because not to the people that are saying maybe this suggestion. I'm just saying the fact that Indiana Fever would think that, because you couldn't possibly think that, because you guys are giving Raven Johnson playing time. Why not have Justine Passat getting playing time as well? Justine Passat can get her own shots. She has offensive game. I'm just being honest. There's some things that Raven Johnson needs to work on, because if you're talking about her getting playing time like that, but if you got her out there having no problem when she out there, she got defense. But coming off the bench, you need some players that can put buckets and put points on the scoreboard until the starters come back in the game. And that is Justine Passat. To me personally, Justine Passat is the most reliable offensive player that will be coming off the bench for the Indiana Fever. And I can't figure out and quite put it together why they don't have her on a 12-man roster. It just doesn't make no sense. I think there's other players that you could put on that developmental and then have Justine Passat there. When you look at some of the things that the Indiana Fever are lacking right now, Justine Passat would give you that. She would give you that. She has size. She has dribbles. She has a killer three-point. And she knows how to play in the paint as well. Could you guys imagine if they would just give this girl the time? Like, I think that's the problem. They're talking about why we want to develop her more. No, Justine Passat, I think that they are dropping the ball with Justine Passat to a little bit, and you can see it. You can tell when sometimes if you watch Justine Passat, she's annoyed. She's like, well, why am I not getting playing time? Why am I not on the 12 roster? I can put up points and I can put up offensive points and I can have an all-around game. Why do I have to sit down here? You can see it on her face. I'm telling you, Justine Passat does not like being on a developmental roster. She wants to be on a 12-man, 12-woman roster. And I just think that there were other players on that bench that she's way more talented in. And for the fact that for people, even if the Indiana Fever front office and Stephanie White thinks that she needs to develop more and she's not ready, they are completely blind. They are completely blind because I've watched Justine Passat at Vanderbilt. Do you guys not realize that do you not realize that they were consecutively multiple times during the time when Passat was there that they were made it to the NCAA tournament? They made it to the NCAA tournament. Her and Blake, they made it to the Vanderbilt were making it to the tournament. So I think the fact is because Vanderbilt didn't go far into the tournaments, it's like they had a curse on them. Vanderbilt they would always not make it past the first round. If any of you guys know, see, that's what I'm saying. I've been watching women's basketball since back in the 90s. Like that's when I first started watching women's basketball. So when we talking about some of these, and I took a break for a while because it just really got when all those players left from the 90s, the game just wasn't the same. And it's just like out there, I don't know what these girls were doing over a time frame. But when I started back watching, and I'm watching these college, when I'm looking and watching Justine Passat and Blake, man, Vanderbilt was a good team. Vanderbilt was a good team. The only problem is that Vanderbilt couldn't get out the first round. That was their problem because there were teams that were better overall than them. You know, that was the issue and why I think Justine Passat didn't get enough. And I think maybe that's probably why people don't look, oh, she's a very high value player because of the fact that she never got out of the first round with Blake. They always got bumped out in the first round, but that's because the teams that they had to play up against, these top tier teams, had better overall rosters. That's the reason why Vanderbilt never got out of the first round of the tournaments. But they was making it to the tournaments, but they just couldn't get out the damn first round. But I think a lot of people are sleeping on Justine Passat. I'm telling you guys, hear me and hear me now. I'm telling you guys, if they would take this girl off the developmental and put her up and bump her up to the 12-man roster or a 12-woman roster, I'm telling you, she would give Fever what they need, someone that can play inside the paint, because you guys don't understand. I watched this girl. This girl was dominant in the paint at Vanderbilt. She was playing against some of these players that you say these bigs these bigs are in the league right now. She was playing against them, and she was holding her own just like Marta Suarez was. Because Marta, like I told you guys, Marta Suarez used to play with Vanderbilt as well before she eventually transferred off onto TCU. Okay, but like I said, I watched this girl play. Justine Passat. Most of her, if you guys really look, if the Fever keeps saying, think about this, the Fever keeps saying that they lack size and they need someone with size. Not Marta Suarez, but Justine Passat is 6'4". She has the length. She may not have the body size, like the body weight, but she has the length. She has dribble. She's played in the paint, inside the paint throughout her career in Vanderbilt. Because when you're looking at, she was one of the biggest people tallest people on the team. There were a couple of others, but they didn't really have size. So Marta Suarez, if you guys go look at not Marta Suarez, but Justine Passat, go look at Justine Passat in her college years. And you could see that she was on the outside when she would come out, and then she'd be on that 3-point line. But a lot of Justine Passat games, she had to play in the paint. So Justine Passat already knows how to play, and she's very skilled already as far as playing in the paint. She knows how to get offensive rebounds, defensive rebounds. She's not a person that commits turnovers like that. That's the thing. You want people coming off the bench, and you want more people on the team that's not really committing turnovers like that, because we have a real issue with that. A lot of these just silly turnovers. So I think that Justine Passat is a killer. And it's like the Indiana Fever. Why are you guys holding her down? You guys need to put her up and start letting her run with these professionals. I don't think that Justine Passat needs to be down. I think that would really hurt her more than help her. I think her being in the game right now playing is going to make her even develop more. They need to let her start playing with these pros now, because she was already playing against these girls in college. And she was giving them the business in college. Like I said, the only reason why some of these players you see when they come out from college and you don't, their name is not their name is not publicized like some of these other names, is because the teams they're on. When you're on a team that's not well equipped or not packed a roster like these top tier teams, of course you're not going to be publicized as a player. But I'm telling you, Justine Passat was giving people the business in her college years, and some of these players and bigs. The only difference is the problem is that when you look at Justine Passat average in college, it was about like maybe say 10 to 12 points per game and maybe like 8 to 10 or 10 rebounds per game. The problem is because she wasn't the primary focus of their team. Blake was. Blake was the primary, and it was primary force or score on a team and the primary source on their team. So Blake, all the plays mostly were designed for Blake first, and then Passat was like the second or third option. That's the problem. That's the reason. So I do think that she could have played. Justine Passat could have averaged more points per game in her college career, but the fact that she wasn't the major focus, primary focus on her college years at Vanderbilt, Blake was. Well, because I'm telling y'all right now, I hear some of these people talk about some of these point guards. They talk about like Olivia Miles, Page, and etc. Azzy Fuzz, and then they talking about like the one coming from out of USC. What's her name? Can't think of it right now, but you guys know the one that's at USC. And then these guards they're talking about. But I'm telling you, man, Blake is a beast. I think when Blake comes out of depending on what team that Blake goes to, I'm telling you, Blake, I think she's going to be better than some of these ones that they people talk about that are better than Caitlin or all this extra nonsense. I think Blake is going to be better than some of these ones right now that people are talking about. Mark my word. Mark my word. Because Blake she's a beast and she can move around and so she's not like she's small. But that's the point I'm trying to make. Justine Passat was not the main focus on Vanderbilt, so that's why she didn't average as much. But if you look at her over, she was consistent about what she did, and she played multiple around the court. Like she played outside, but she also had to play inside to handle the bigs and play the power forward / center. So I think that right now, y'all should put her in now and start letting her get used to the team, running with the teams and running the plays, and get used to early playing up against these bigs that she was already playing up against in college. Because if you wait to start implementing her later on in the season, it could, like I said, that could damage it because you're like, oh, let her get used to it right now. And I'm telling you, Justine Passat would be a beast. You guys better go look up on Justine Passat. Like I said, that's Indiana Fever secret weapon. But I think if they keep her in the developmental and don't let her start getting enough plays and get used to the team and start getting active right now, I think it's going to hurt her. And you guys might wind up losing her because I'm telling you, Justine Passat, I don't think she is all the way happy right now by where she is right now, being in that developmental spot. I think she wants to be on a 12-man, 12-woman roster. But you guys let me know what you think in the comments about that. Let me know what you think. Do you guys think that Justine Passat should be in a developmental or she should be already moved up? But like I said, when you're talking about the Indiana Fever, this is why I brought up Justine Passat, mainly because I don't think that she should be in a developmental. I think she should be on the main roster right now because that's what the Indiana Fever need, especially if you have because there are going to be games where all three of our star players, key players, Leah Boston, Caitlin Clark, and Kelsey Mitchell, they're not all going to be like every game, all going to have it average like 20 points. So you need players. And what if, like I said, what if things happen like injuries or players are having a bad game? You need players coming off the bench that is going to be able to put up solid points. And I'm telling you guys, Justine Passat is Indiana Fever's secret weapon. And they need to activate her. I'm telling you, I don't know what the Indiana Fever's plan is. Now, I could see it as the Indiana Fever may have, like they said, they put on the developmental when they could have did that whole thing about her being injured, did that on purpose so no one else would try to pick her up on their team. And that's why they kept her there. But, I mean, I think you guys need to release her now. Release her. Not release her from the team, okay? I mean, you guys need to release her. Like, you need to activate her. You need to activate her on the main roster. She is going to help the Indiana Fever a lot. I'm telling you, she has that size, and that's what the Indiana Fever lacks right now. They need someone else that has size, but that can put up consistent defense, rebounding, and points up on the board. Justine Passat could help the offense as well. Imagine her coming in sometimes when you taking maybe Aaliyah out or maybe whoever's the starter, Monique Billings or whoever like you decide to start. Imagine Justine, like how they doing with Raven the last 2 games, implement her in with the starters. Imagine Justine Passat being out there sometimes, like mixed up with Aaliyah Boston on the court and Caitlin Clark on the court. Imagine that, and having like Sophie in the game or Lexi Ho and having Justine Poseidon. Man, I'm telling you, think about it. That's going to even make it better for Caitlin Clark too, as well, because I'm telling you, if Justine Passat is on the gets pushed up to the starting roster, and I'm telling you, if you have her on that court playing with them and getting that time, I'm telling you, it's going to take even more pressure off of Caitlin Clark because you're not going to be able to leave these persons like Justine Passat wide open and just do how they be doing double and triple on. You're not going to be able to do that because Justine Passat is going to destroy these teams. She's too vicious. She's too vicious, too much of a beast, which is why I can't realize why the Indiana Fever have not put her up to the roster yet. Now, I don't know what the Indiana Fever front office and not Stephanie White, what are they thinking of, what their plan is, but man, I don't know what strategy they're playing, or they're trying to do out the first regular season. Do out the first early stages of the season and then maybe decide to bring her up. But I don't know what you guys are doing. But I'm telling you, it would help the team better if they put Justine Passat on an active roster. Now, when we're talking about the other girl, that would help even more because now if you put Justine Passat up to the active roster and you have the girl that they just signed like maybe 4 or 5 days ago, you have both of them on the active rosters coming off the bench. That's what the Indiana Fever needs. That means Monique Billings and Aaliyah Boston, they wouldn't be forced, especially Monique Billings. She wouldn't have to force to play so much more because you can see it. Monique Billings is not used to playing a full game like that and being a starter. And that's why you can see Monique Billings be out there tired and stuff. She'll be winded real quick because right now they put in more pressure on her than what she's used to. She's not used to being a starter. She's used to being coming off the bench. So I just think it's going to work. I don't know how it's going to work, but I can tell you this right now. By the end of this season, depending on, I don't know what is going to happen with the Indiana Fever, how their outcome of the season is going to be, but I can mark my word. You can look at some real mix-up coming up into the next season, depending on what's happening. I'm telling you, Justine Passat is going to end up becoming a starter. Now, her position is a shooting guard, but she can play the small forward. I could see her playing a small forward, but also the shooting guard, because now you got to look up when the next coming off season, you got to look at, are they going to try to re-sign Kelsey Mitchell for another year because she's only signed to a year? Or are they going to sign even Sophie, Lexi Ho is straight. Lexi Ho is not going nowhere. She's going to still be there. But I think depending on how they go with Sophie Cunningham and Kelsey Mitchell, that's going to open up a starting position, I think, personally, regardless for Justine Passat, because Justine Passat is just that good. Okay. So I think if this team doesn't make a huge mistake and doesn't lose this girl to another team or don't get rid of her, Justine Passat will eventually become a starter because she has a talent. She very well has a talent to be a starter. Like I said, I think she just got overshadowed because their primary scorer and primary ball handler and everything was Blake. And she just wasn't getting enough touches like that. She had to do more. She had to do a lot when she was Vanderbilt. You had to play defense. She had to play in the paint, guard these bigs, be on the outside, scoring points. It was just a lot for her. And I think that she just wasn't the primary focus on the team, and it was Blake. So, but I'm telling y'all, trust me when I say this, Justine Passat is a beast. But like I said, we don't know yet like what's going to happen with Sophie Cunningham and Kelsey Mitchell, because they could possibly, one of them or both of them could possibly not be on the team next year. I wouldn't be mad at Indiana Feeder if they decide to do that and decide to not re-sign Kelsey Mitchell again and decide to go another way. I can see that. Then you could have someone like Justine Passat playing the shooting guard, which is her natural position. Imagine Justine Passat playing her natural position, shooting guard, at 6'4". She's 6'4". Do you know how well that would go for the Indiana Fever? But imagine if they don't fulfill the contract with Kelsey Mitchell after this year, and they say, Lexi Ho, you can go to the shooting guard position and then put Justine Passat at the small forward position. I think that Justine Passat, she can be the starting small forward or starting shooting guard on the Indiana Fever because she can play either one of those. She can play the shooting guard, small forward, power forward, and the center too, because she was playing shooting guard, small. She was playing shooting guard, small forward, power forward, and center in at Vanderbilt. So you guys get what I'm saying, how really great this girl is, and how much potential that Justine Passat has. But she has to get her shine. If you can see, if you can see, you guys remember the first preseason game. That was the only time we got the chance to see her play for a few minutes. In a few minutes, she had put up like what, 10 or 12 points. That just goes to show you guys right there. Imagine her playing more than a couple of minutes in a game. She could damn near put up at 15 points a game coming off the bench. I'm telling you guys. But yeah, I just really think, to wrap that up, that's what I wanted to say. I think that Justine Passat is the Indiana Fever's key weapon, and I just don't understand why they're not. They better make sure they don't drop the ball with Justine Passat, because if they let this girl slip away, it's going to come back to haunt the Indiana Fever. And like I said, Justine Passat is one of the key pieces that can put the Indiana Fever to like this new level. But I just think that person, we're going back now to Marta Sarez. I just think they dropped the ball on Marta Sarez. I think Marta Sarez and Justine Passat being on the Indiana Fever together with the players that we have right now, the starters, man, do you know how beast mode that team would be? What else? I do think the Fever made a mistake. I think they should have got rid of waived Walker earlier, and I think they should have kept what was her name? Trailer, Tiana. Is it Tiana Trailer? I think they should have kept her, and you put her on a developmental roster and maybe another player. And like I said, I have no problem with Maisha Allen being on the team, but if you're talking about she's there for specific reasons, not letting like the help with the people that's trying to do all that bully ball and stuff, that's cool, but she's just not that effective at what position she's supposed to be playing. And I just think they could have. I think personally, I think they should have waived Maisha Allen, even though they signed her. I think they should have waived her or whatever, even if they don't waive her. But I don't think I just personally think Marta Sarez should have been on the Indiana Fever team, and Justine Passat should also be on the starting roster. But like I said, there's a lot of things going on right now with these teams, and I think, like I told you guys, I saw the Indiana Fever going 0-10 to start the season. The problem is why you guys saying, well, they're 4-2 right now, but I think they're 4-2 because some of these teams that you guys think that we know that's supposed to be the top teams, they've pretty much been struggling at the very beginning of the season. But I'm telling you guys, these teams that's been struggling and losing these games that they're supposed to win, I can guarantee you by the time we get to midway half season, you're going to see that where the actual standings in both the Western and Eastern Conference, you're going to see those standings are going to be how they normally would be. I just think some of those top tier teams are pretty much, they kind of struggling right now. Whatever's going on, they're trying to figure out what it's going to do, or once they get the rolling, the standings is going to change. So this is what I'm telling you guys. Like, and when Indiana Fever start matching up against somebody, see that's the thing with Indiana Fever. Unfortunately, they're going to start playing these teams that are actually top tier teams and champions teams. They're going to start playing these teams when these teams start clicking. It would have been good if they would have got to play those teams earlier, like right now, these first games, to get a couple of wins on them teams right now. But after these first 10 games get passed, I'm telling you, some of these top tier teams like the New York Liberty, the Aces, they're going to start rolling, clicking. Even Minnesota, they're going to start rolling, clicking. So that's why I said I just think, I don't know, Indiana Fever, man. I don't know, man. It's going to be a tough year. Like, I don't know, but I it's not like I don't have faith in them. I just think they're still missing some pieces, and they need to make some adjustments in the roster if they want to be competing for championships. But that's all I have for you guys. So this one, it's been a while, so I'm back on the channel. I've been just started back uploading last week. It's going to be a long time, but I'm going to try to keep putting up. I'm just curious to know what you guys' opinions and stuff about this is. How do you think that the Indiana Fever season is going to turn out? How do you guys think, what do you guys think that their record is going to be by the time we get to halfway into the season, by the All-Star break and all this stuff? But I'm curious to know what you guys think. Let me know whether you agree or disagree. Hey, go ahead and spam in the comments and let me know. Appreciate you guys. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you subscribe to the channel and click that notification button. It doesn't cost you anything. It's completely free. So I want to thank you guys once again for taking the time to tune into Too Real for Mainstream. So until next time, see you guys next. Peace.